But when the press decides that it is more profitable for them to sell sensation than truth, to create, what's that word again? To create trials by headlines, when the media decides that a group of people are going to be the ones to decide somebody's fate rather than the truth of the matter, then we have a big problem on our hands. So hi guys, how are you all doing today, and welcome back to this adorable channel. I've missed you guys, truly I have. And so I just need to get back into the thick of things because it's been too long and I'm dying over here. Yes, I am still undergoing treatments for the eye. Yes, I am on antibiotics. It worries me that I'm on antibiotics like this because we all know that antibiotics are not the best things for you, for you to use in your body. I'm asthmatic. That's one, too. It's almost spring, so it's a little bit, I'm not so comfortable because I've already started feeling a little bit sick, but, we're going to brave it till the end. Anyway. So, what brings us here today? Okay, so we are, again, this is about the Justin Baldoni and Lively case. And I want to just, for me, it's quite important that I talk about the role of the media in this case. And, what actually prompted me to this is the fact that I just watched a rerun. We all follow the Depp versus Heard case, and I watched it again on Netflix, and I started to draw a lot of parallels, right, between Amber Heard and this Lively of a woman, and it's quite telling. The things that you notice, or the things that are very, that jumps out right at you. And again, how the media, how journalists and newspapers play a pivotal role in trying to, sway the perception of people. And this is a dangerous precedent. Listen, we have always as people, we have always talked about the independence of the media and the freedom of the press, and I stand for it. But when the press decides that it is more profitable for them to sell sensation than truth, to create what's that word again? To create trials by headlines. When the media decides that a group of people are going to be the ones to decide somebody's fate rather than the truth of the matter, then we have a big problem on our hands. And again, it now calls to question why the person of, Cheetos would always come out and say things like the lies that the media is all fake news. And it has set a very dangerous precedent in the last 21st century because they give credence to Cheetos saying fake news. They give credence to Cheetos using his own platform, right, to say the things that he knows are inherently false, and he is saying it over and over again and making every one of his followers to believe it. I saw a clip yesterday I can't remember the man's name, and he said that Cheetos says if you say something over and over and over again, it begins, it eventually is true. Now, when he made that statement, it wasn't about the general public, it was about himself. So Cheetos has on his own told everyone about fake news. And like it or not, whether he believes it or not, people believe it. And it's setting a dangerous pretense. So I'm using the New York Times based on the article they wrote not too long ago on the 16th of February. Okay. And, again, like I said, trial by headline. So the summary of the article, I'm going to put an excerpt. I'm going to show you guys what the article looks like. If you've not read that article, if you've not seen it, I will implore you, go if you want to. And I'm guessing, I didn't see the article make a lot of rounds on, but I'm guessing a lot of people, because again, what is happening is that the media is rendering themselves as useless as possible. Because when people decide that they don't want to listen to you anymore or read what you have to say, then you have lost your public, you have lost credibility. And so this article was written by Julia Jacobs, right? And so the summary, because I wrote it down, the summary of the article. Now, this article is supposed, right, to examine the ongoing federal civil suit, right, between JB and BL, right? Now, we all know the key points of this legal battle. It all started with, Khaleesi saying things in the corridor of sexual harassment. And then she releases texts, she releases, non-contextual texts, right? And if you recall in my last video, I said that, up till date, that the New York Times has not retracted anything. Despite the ongoing legal battle, they have not retracted their statements, they have not retracted that article, they have not apologized, they have not said anything. And this is another ongoing trend of where people do something wrong, right? Be it telling lies or, falsehood against one. There has become this new attempt at keeping mute. Again, we are all following the playbook of the person whom I started this conversation with, Cheetos. You're following his playbook because as long as you don't address it, it's not happening. It didn't happen. It doesn't exist. And if it did exist, well, move on. We are now living in a society where apology seems as beneath you. Apologizing is beneath you because for some reason you've got, followers and audience or whatever. You see, it's normal, and we always say it's pride goes before a fall. And I want to take us back to something that happened very recently in France. Now, and I'm citing this because by journalistic rules, the medium by which you slander someone is the same medium that you must use to, retract, apologize, or whatever. So very recently in France, we had 11 black people, Africans, origin Africans who are French citizens, because in France you cannot work with the civil service or serve if you're not naturalized, and so, or if you're not a French citizen. And so these persons, 11 of them, became mayors of different cities in France. Now, less than 24 hours after that happened, there's this particular news channel called C News that has been known to speak racist and go on racist rants, create controversy again with racist remarks. And it's something that they've been doing and they keep doing. Unfortunately, the person also behind this particular media, person behind the media is actually one of their billionaires in France. So you see, nothing is happening out of vacuum. Everything has a specific order that it is following. And so right off the bat, we got people who were white French people who were put on, who were invited, because again, it became sensational, black males in France and all the crimes that they have committed. And so this man decides in his speech, being asked about this mayor, his name is Baya Bagoko, if I'm not wrong. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. And he decides to compare him to a monkey and talks about how he's the alpha, he's the alpha male in the group of gorillas and co and co and co. And I'm like, huh? Yes. Now, suffice to say that, of course, social media went agog with that information, but it took the government a week plus to make a statement. Yes, the Prime Minister just talked about it today. In a country, because again, I've been reading, in a country that has created laws since 1872 based on human rights, equality, and justice. Since 1872, France is not when I tell people about the fact that France is a nation that when it comes to civil rights, I think they may not have held the civil movement like they did in America, but they ingrained it in their laws. It is written, it is ingrained, it is flowing in their laws and the constitution that governs them. It's crazy. And so for a nation that has this level, I'm telling you guys, if we count from the time when the king, before the revolution, it's amazing how they've gotten here. And so in 2026, in the 21st century, we now find that today, a couple of French white people decided that, a mayor, a human being, that he's a gorilla, a monkey, an alpha male of a pack, whatever terms you want to call it. And so we also help this rhetoric when those who are supposed to speak up don't speak up. And then the media, who is supposed to be the conscience, right, of truth, are actually the ones propagating the same racist, hate, and biased views. It's really sad. And so a statement was made, and this man made a statement in French. I'm not going to start reading it. And so the man actually said, "Nous sommes les rois." That is, we are kings. And the person who was interviewing him, Apolline de Malherbe, I've known her since, I don't know when she started on BFM TV. And she comes and she says to him that he said that he used the term roi le roi de noir. And it was insane, right? Because that wasn't what he said. Now, she finishes the interview. She realizes that what she said was wrong. She did not come back on the platform. It could have been anyone, but publicly, she didn't come back on any of the public platforms to apologize or to retract the statement. She went on Twitter. And so something she said publicly for the world to hear, she decided to apologize privately on Twitter. You see, we are living in a world right now where we are on the dangerous side of history. A very, very dangerous side of history. And it is scary. And if the people who we are giving the freedom to actually do what they are meant to do are not doing it, then there's a problem. Because that means they are all complicit. Yes, they are all complicit. The New York Times, and I'm struggling with myself because if you recall in the last video, I actually talked about it. I said that the New York Times, as much as, Justin Baldoni has refiled the defamation suit against the New York Times, and I'm in for it, and I'm all for it. So again, if we are in a situation where the New York Times is trying to sway, okay, the rhetoric they started by use of trial by headlines, we are on a dangerous side of history. Remember again that the people who orchestrated the involvement of the New York Times in this case are Taylor Swift and Lively, which means that I could call as an individual, I could decide with the right amount of money, I could decide and connection, I could decide I want to call up, a media platform and tell them and cook up any story I like against anyone. And it will work. And it will happen. And they will do it. No investigation, no questioning, nothing. It will happen. To the detriment of another party. That is the exact scenario that we get here. Because the New York Times did not, you contacted Justin Baldoni 9 p.m. His house was on fire. I cannot wait for that defamation lawsuit and how it's going to play out. Because I don't know what Judge Lyman was thinking, I can't say. But then I think he also gave room, for that defamation lawsuit to take place right now as it is happening. So there are lots of cases that are going. And so the summary says that they talked about the dance, the slow dance. Thankfully, Justin Baldoni had the original cut, and we heard everything that happened in that scene. Suffice to say that it was far from what this lively person, this Blake of a human, wanted us to believe. Again, I still want to go back to, she wanted us to believe. No context, no nothing, and gave us only tidbits, excerpts of chats and this video because she didn't have it. Okay, and so there were talks about circumcision of which she initiated the conversation. The ridiculousness of this lawsuit, let me jump right in. The ridiculousness of this lawsuit is how the weaponization of very small micro elements on this movie set. Again, it's a movie set. And the weaponization of small words, small acts that were nothing. If you remember my first video, I said it. I said she didn't read the book. Because if she read the book, she would not have come up with this. If she did read the book, she did not. And that is exactly where the hammer hits her on the head. She did not read the book at all. Because explain to me how you are going to be on set and you're supposed to be recording a steamy scene about a very turbulent relationship. And you are talking about the fact that he called you sexy, or I don't know, it's weird. Now, according to the same law, because again, I now realize that most of the tabloids are writing and they're just spewing out crap. And it worries me because as a journalist, you can't tell me. I think we all did Law 101. I did law for 2 years or 3. I did law. I studied economics first degree. And while I did Law 101 and I think I did Law 102 and I did it in second year. So again, it's quite weird to me because as a journalist, the knowledge of the law in its for your protection exists, right? And so it's very, very worrisome that these tabloids are writing and going in different tangents with no regard to the rulings, no regards to the to what the law says, because that's where I'm coming to my next point. No regards to what the law says at all, and they just keep going and they're writing whatever it is that comes out of their, I don't want to use that word, but we then begin to ask the question of PR. Are you now PR machines instead of journalists? Because the New York Times is not supposed to be one of those